And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Hello and welcome back to Headlines from Who's Views. Have you got the new edition of Doctor Who magazine? Because we're going to be looking at the production notes for a certain showrunner very, very shortly. I'm going to welcome now to the show from the Whotastic panel. It's Paul and third Doctor Ian. Hello, both.
Hello.
Hello. All right, so before we actually get to Mr. RTD, let's talk about somebody else that's on the interview and whole showbiz circuit at the moment as well, and who's doing actually a cracking job. This, of course, is the one and only Mr. Peter Capaldi. Now, Peter, for those of you who may not know, is on the press circuit at the moment, publicising his brand new drama, which is called Criminal Record, in which he stars as a detective inspector, the first ever policeman that he's ever played, believe it or not. And he's working alongside actress Cush Jumbo, who some of you will have known, or have heard of and seen in various things. So Cush Jumbo. And the reviews for this thing are incredible. Yeah, the press are loving this. It's available right now on Apple TV. If any of you have got that, or have got access to that, it's Apple Television. But it came to our notice because inevitably, poor old Mr. Capaldi, even though he's trying to sell his new show and publicise his brand new show and this brand new character, what happens to him? Yes, of course, he has to answer questions about Malcolm Tucker and Doctor Who. So, but he seems to be handling it very, very well from my point of view. Have you seen him in these things, guys?
I saw the LBC Andrew Marr interview with him, which was quite interesting. Obviously, yeah. Andrew Marr's a fan. That's it. But,
the secret fan, isn't he? He's a guilty fan.
Obviously, yeah. But no, he handled it really, really well, and he answered really good questions really effectively. And he knows his stuff. And he's being obviously, he looks fantastic. Now, I wish he was still playing the Doctor. He looks great.
Yeah, well, he does, doesn't he? Actually, but it's always gonna. I think it's always gonna haunt him, as with all the actors now, because here he is with this big, bold, a really well received drama on Apple, playing his first ever detective. He's really going into depth about the character, and then they come up and say, "Oh, you're going to go back to Doctor Who." And this is the interview. I mean, these are the interviews, I should say. And hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you very much for watching us and tuning in again. Thank you for being with us. Get your comments in. But this are the interviews that Doctor Who fans need to hear, because he's answered the question, "Are you ever coming back to Doctor Who?"
He did answer another question, a general question about being an actor and how you create a character, and about wearing the right clothes, which is really interesting. And to be the Doctor, you have to wear the right clothes. That's what he said, or thereabouts. Yeah.
Well, it is all quite interesting, guys, because let's have a look at this, because that again, there's a double meaning in that somehow, isn't there? Do you not think, Ian? You can read things into what he's saying here.
I think he's always been quite, especially since leaving, has always been very guarded with what he said, and I think with right reason. He wasn't well treated, and but he's got a deep love for the show. He's not just an actor, and it's not just a job for him. And he accepts and understands, I think, that you never leave that role behind. The role never leaves you. It's with him for life and beyond. Because we still talk about Hartnell, Pertwee, Troughton, don't we? It goes beyond that. So he's not going to turn his back on it or badmouth it. But at the same time, he will be very, very careful with what he said. He'll give it a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't blame him, because we know that he wasn't treated that well towards the end of his tenure. And, personally, I think he was probably the best of the modern Doctors. He was absolutely stunning. And he got, because he's a fan as well. He understood the show. He understood what he was supposed to do. But here he goes in this one. Now, this is from Forbes Ooh, Peter Capaldi being interviewed by the very push Forbes, in an interview with Simon Thompson. Peter Capaldi on Criminal Record and Doctor Who being good for the world. And in this, he says, melancholy reflection was something Capaldi felt recently when he watched the return of Doctor Who with David Tennant back in the lead role, albeit temporarily. I enjoyed it, says Capaldi. I thought it was great and a lot of fun, he recalled. It was wonderful, exuberant and full of life, drama and monsters. David was wonderful, and Catherine Tate, of course. It's Doctor Who, you know. It's a gas and a good thing in the world. It's a nice, fun, exciting thing, and I look forward to the rest of the specials and Ncuti Gatwa coming along. I've met him, and he's very inspiring and charming. He was then asked, could he follow in fellow Scott Tennant's footsteps and briefly return to the world of the Doctor? No, he said. I'm a long-standing Doctor Who fan from being a kid. Haggerty, which is the character he is playing in the Criminal Record show, is the same age as me. Maybe he watched Doctor Who too. He's of that era. I like the idea that my Doctor is still out there. He's not available to be on TV. The real Doctor is not on TV. The real Doctor is out there.
Does that mean he's accepting the canon changes that RTD has made? Is he? All the Doctors are out there, any shape or form you like.
You could read that a lot of ways, couldn't you? Really, you could interpret that a lot of ways. But and
we are, aren't we? Let's face it.
Yeah.
We are. He was incredibly badly served. I mean, even when he was the Doctor, he was badly served. When he was announced, I was so happy.
Yes.
And I thought it was brilliant. And when I saw his outfit, because for me, it echoed a lot of Pertwee, and I thought that's no bad thing, but with a modern twist. And then I just felt throughout his era, growing more towards the end, that it was just a huge disappointment, and it wasn't his fault. You know, it was ridiculous storylines, and it was starting to go down that toilet bowl, wasn't it? Really, that flushed with the turd that was Jodie, and it was, such a shame. But such a talented actor, and he looks like an old copper, doesn't he? He's got the face for an old copper, definitely.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, even in that in that article there, and he has gone on record since then, of course, because that one was obviously recorded before Christmas. He has watched the Christmas special, and he's gone on recently, like Paul was saying there, the LBC interview where he said he watched it and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed the Christmas Days one, and they're always going to say that, aren't they? Because that's what people do, and that's what actors do, and that's absolutely fine. And I hope he did. But I'm sure he had a wee chuckle to himself as well. I would have done that, but yeah.
At least I'm not in that one.
Exactly, and I've
done some crap, but
I didn't wear a kilt. I didn't wear a kilt. But even in this, he said, look, he's referring it back to the new character he's playing, to get the subject back on track, because he wants to talk about this fantastic new drama, by all belief. So good for Peter. And it's great to be actually seeing him out there. And if you don't know who Josh Cumbo is, you will when you see her, I'm sure, because she's been on Netflix things. She was in Vera over here in the UK years ago. And then that led her over to do the Good Wife sequel, which I can't remember what that was. She went over to do that. So, if you've got it, it's on Apple TV. Let us know what it's like. I'm going to try and get my hands on it somehow as well, because I don't have Apple TV. But good for Peter Capaldi. And, just a message out to Peter that we still love you and we still appreciate you. We may not all agree these days with all our politics and what have you. That's absolutely fine. I'm sure you, such a distinguished actor, who's coming across very professionally, very maturely, very courteously, very sensibly. I'm sure you would respect all that. But we as Doctor Who fans miss you, and we love you
very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, we really do, don't we? Let's have a look and see who's in the chat, shall we, here on Headlines. Garbage is saying he agrees with you, Ian. Well, there you go. There's a first for you. I agree with the third. That can be taken many ways. Madeline Funk is saying hi to everybody here as well. And Alien Airplanes has just said he's back. He is again. I didn't like season 10 that much, but I still love the Capaldi era as a whole. The Return of Dr. Mysterio is one of my favorite episodes. I've only watched that once, and I think that was enough.
Well, I have to say, I don't mind that episode. There's some really stinker Christmas Capaldi ones, but that one was only okay, really. But
what was the one with the dream things, the dream crab things?
Last Christmas. I like that one. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
It was a Christmassy, darky sort of story as well, wasn't it? With a bit of Alien, healthy bit of Alien put in there as well.
Yeah.
You know,
and
so
I think the Santa things would have worked, but Nick Frost is great as Father Christmas. Fantastic stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's the answer to all the Doctor Who fans that are always wondering if a Capaldi is coming back. No, he's not. He's too busy and too popular doing other things right now. And good luck with him with this brand new drama. It's called Criminal Record. As I say, it's available on Apple Television right now. Okay, so we've got all that. I mean, I ask you two as well. Why would Peter Capaldi want to go back to Doctor Who anyway when it's getting this sort of reception? This is from 2 days ago, as of broadcasting, and as you can see, it's a screen grab from the Tube of Who official BBC channel, and as you can see, the likes for the season 1 trailer 4.3. And the dislikes are 4.4. Now, this is truly 50-50. I don't think I've seen this in such a long time, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's encouraging from our perspective because, as we've seen as 3 old farts who don't know anything, I think that it's interesting.
That's been alleged, by the way, for those of you who don't know. We've had that in the comments. On
conservative middle-aged.
I am, and I'm not in denial. It's fine. But
I'm 28.
To get a balance of the audience, that it's a bit like Brexit, really, isn't it? To be fair.
The thing is with that Tube of Who score, you can't do what you can do on iPlayer. You can only do it once unless you have another account, and they aren't that obsessive that they're going to spend time creating new Google and new YouTube accounts. So you know, the ones that like it can only like it once, and the ones that don't like it can only dislike it once. But it shows you more of a truer score.
Yeah.
If that was a rating put on iPlayer, it'd be 57,000 liking it and 3. And I don't mean 3,000. It'd be like 3.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point because, of course, earlier this week we were talking about ratings here on Headlines. If you haven't seen that show, go back and have a look at that. We were having a really good and honest conversation with our guest Problem Being on that one about the huge jump in ratings that have had a lot of people in the Doctor Who fandom questioning the system. I mean, some of us have been questioning it for years, but that's a really good. But you're right there, Ian, as well, because that is a true reflection, isn't it? There, it's very close. Now, bearing in mind that I took that screen grab yesterday, it could have changed again. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, I'll show you again. It's the BBC channel, BBC channel on the Tube of Who, and it's Doctor Who season 1, brand new teaser trailer. So have a look at that. But it is. I just thought that was interesting for us to have a look at that because it does show what you. Yeah, go on, Paul.
Well, what is interesting as well as, I don't know if you've got a graphic for this, but I'll mention it anyway. The other day, yesterday, the season 15 Blu-ray announcement came out, and I must say I'm really pleased about that. Fantastic news. But if you compare interest in the classic series and New Who, if you look at the season 1 preview trailer you've just mentioned, that's got, I think, on one screening, it's got, I think it's 284K viewers on it, but the season 15 box set has, I think, 377K watches. So that shows the interest is a bit higher on classic than new, I think.
Different periods as well, though.
Yeah,
it got that really, really quickly, whereas that one's had to drag its backside all the way up to it, probably with a bit of inflation. But yeah.
So it shows an interesting difference in opinion about what's more interesting for fans, I think, definitely.
Well, we've known. Oh, sorry, Ian, go on.
No, sorry. I just thought that trailer for season 15 with Louise Jameson as Leela, that was more an anniversary episode than any of that crap that was served up in November and December.
Well, that's the reason why I mentioned it is because I want people to realise we don't just moan about everything. There are some good Doctor Who things to be found, and this was one of them. So yeah.
Well, it's absolutely true. And if you want to know more about what our opinions, we actually did a reaction show to it. So that's here on the channel under Merchandise Paradise playlist. And we were raving about this because, as I said on the reaction show, I felt like I'd watched a full-blooded movie, Ian, after watching that 7-8 minutes of what it was.
It was absolutely gorgeous. I watched it jaw dropped. Honestly, it was production value, the amount of detail. You know, when one of the Daleks was panning round to try and circle Leela, and you look through its eye, you've got the other Dalek there, and it's moving. It was just fantastic.
There was a great shot actually of the Dalek base coming into shot, and you got the odd angle that came in. That was fantastic stuff.
Yeah,
and Louise Jameson performance was superb. Another good actor like Capaldi.
Well, totally. I mean, they're both from that same school. I mean, at some point, God forbid, that ability to understand how to build a character, produce a character, and then control a character and perform a character is going to die out, because I personally, I don't see many of the younger ones bringing that skill. They just want to go on telly, blurt a few lines, and take the money. Some of them. I'm not actually naming names.
But it's about creating a character, like you say, and creating an atmosphere and suspending disbelief in that situation to make it work. Yeah,
well, and she shows in that, you know, in those 7 or 8 minutes where it is, just how capable and how good at craft she is, because she knows what she's got to do. I mean, she's been doing it for so long now, and we all know as well that she taught acting. But yeah, it's just, I mean, that was another highlight there, really. And it's great that you know what we're saying about the stats, because we've all known that the season box sets, the limited edition, all go to the top of the charts as soon as they're announced, and they're there for a few days. Whereas we also know that in the past few years, the modern equivalent hasn't been getting to the top, you know, and that's something else we'll have to look at some point as well, isn't it?
Well, it just reflects demand. It reflects demand. You can't get people to buy something that they don't want. And ultimately, that's where the BBC, we've said it before, that's where the BBC is going to really find it out. That's where they're going to get the message. It's going to be in the merchandise, you know, isn't it?
And I believe also it's in the Amazon #1 DVD Blu-ray charts at the moment. So that's doing really well. Yeah. So
it's up there again. So another hit for them. Hit for them. And I'd say, if you want to go and have a look at what we really thought in that one as well, where we just geeked out for half an hour with Badouia, it's over on the Merchandise Paradise playlist, because we were all quite excited about that one coming along. Well, we're still quite excited as well. And we even did scores on the TARDIS doors on that show for that little trailer. It's camp, let's put it that way. What we got here? Oh, look, Gary's here. Hello, Gary. A Leela spin-off would whip the main show's arse, no problems. Don't get Paul started, because he's really excited about this now. This one, he's really excited about it. Garbage is saying it proves classic and new Who can be mixed and work well, and it also proves the BBC can do it if they want to. It's interesting, isn't it? When you look at the credits for that trailer that Lou is in, it's a BBC Studios production. It's not a BBC Studios / Badwell / Disney Plus production. It's a BBC Studios production, and good for them. Good for them, because the quality is really good, isn't it, everybody? Just a fantastic quality.
Cinematic.
Well, that's what I said.
Daleks as well. Silver bloody Daleks.
Now, are they silver, or are they just dusty? Because I was looking at them with the microscope, as you do as a fan, and it does seem like they might look silver and blue, but there's bits of bronze underneath, and I just thought it must be a lot of war dust. There's a new term, trademark that, war dust.
Bloody Daleks, wow. They look great.
They do, whatever colour they may be.
Even that red one. Ecstatic Brick. Ecstatic Brick is with us. A question I asked myself is, who looks at Ncuti Gatwa's work so far and says he would make a great Doctor? It's an excellent point. And as you can see from that trailer, the official BBC One Series 1 trailer, it's very 50-50 if you're going just by that. What's that? Sam is saying the BBC will take both of the figures, add them up, and say that's the viewing figures for the next episode. Oh, what's he like?
Sam, what are you saying?
How outrageous!
Naughty.
No, yes. Capaldi and Touchwood combined gives you Children of Earth, says Gary. Children of Earth is probably the only Torchwood I can watch, because it's just brilliant.
It's fantastic,
absolutely brilliant. And it's not dating as some other Russell T Davies dramas tend to do. There's something about it that doesn't make it date. I think it's the horror.
I think, and all those horrible deaths of Captain Jack are incredible in that episode, isn't it?
Yeah. Alien, we're going off tangent here, but it doesn't matter. I still need to watch Children of Earth as Alien Airplanes. I plan to begin watching it tomorrow. I still need to cope after what happened in Exit Wounds. I can't remember Exit Wounds.
That was it. That was the American co-production one, wasn't it? It wasn't overly brilliant.
No, that was Miracle Day. That was the series that followed. That was awful.
Yeah.
That was.
I'm not that familiar with Torchwood as I'm Doctor Who, so forgive me.
Didn't
somebody died?
She died, didn't she? Was it Tosh? I Can't
Tosh.
remember her name.
Yeah,
Tosh.
yeah. Yeah. Right. So keep your comments all coming, everybody. Welcome to Headlines here on Who's Views. Stephen is back with us. Hello, Stephen. Haven't bought the 60th specials on DVD or Blu-ray, not even the Daleks in color. The original black and white is better, and he didn't buy any of Jodie's either. That is very like me. I know Ian cancelled his Daleks in color and stuff as well. There's a lot of us there. But what we were looking at there was, the fact that trailer reaction there does show there's still a split, and it might not be as huge a split as the Chibnall era, but it's still a split, and there's still some people, I reckon, that are just I'll like this because we'll see where it's going, and that's fair enough. They're these people that are going to wait to see where it goes, and good for them. I've judged it. So I mean, this is one of the things here. This whole thing about the divide in fandom, we all know where it started. It started during the Chibnall era, and it doesn't seem to be dissipating any time soon. And that leads us to our main headline tonight, because yes, the new Doctor Who magazine has hit the shelves. There it is, there with Ncuti and Millie Gibson on the cover, and the letter from the showrunner is what we're focusing on this evening. Now, if you've got Doctor Who magazine, please let us know if you've read that and what you think of this, because again, what is RTD up to? I really do think that sometimes he goes out of his way just to pee people off, basically.
I think he is, and I think he's doing that, and he's getting the reaction from us he probably wants, I think.
It's a good point. And yes. I know where you're coming. I just don't understand why anybody would do that to.
I don't know either. Yeah,
I mean, it's so Hollywood.
JNT did it, didn't he? But he did it properly and he did it clever. He did things to be controversial, to make it appear in the papers and make people talk about it, make it discussion points, and generally it worked, certainly for a while. Whereas Russell T Davies, I think he just thinks that I'll just be an absolute twat, and it's a good thing because it makes people react. But this isn't the kind of reaction that really you should be looking for, to be quite honest, because, if it had been really, really good and not done well, we would still be there backing it and supporting it, whereas we're gone. And it's going to need that support, and that support this time isn't going to be there, mainly because of him.
Yeah, because what he's done is he's built on what Chibnall achieved. Yeah. Where we all actually hoped, as somebody said to us in one of our previous chats, a lot of us do feel like we were just let down again, because we all welcomed him back. And, well, not all, but the majority of us were, okay, let's see how this goes. Welcome back. Let's see. And those of us that did do that, we go, oh. Well, let's have a look at the magazine. This is production notes from Doctor Who magazine, from Panini. Very well, he starts off with. That's what I've noticed now. We can scroll through the whole universities with a click of the iPlayer. The line very well. It's a real science fiction line, but has anyone actually said very well out loud? I was watching the last episode of Underworld. A guard is given an instruction and replies, very well. And then in the Daleks in colour, a Dalek says it too. Very well. What a great line. Very well. I wonder how often someone said very well in Doctor Who. He does waffle, doesn't he, sometimes? Just to fill column inches here.
He's rambling a bit, yeah.
Yeah, well, just a bit. And he does that for a little bit more when he goes into this whole thing, it's the new year and we're just over Christmas, blah, 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 blah. But then he gets to, as you may be able to see a bit further down, I wonder, how did it go? He's talking about there the launch in 2023, the launch of new Doctor Who, and then the launch of newer Doctor Who. Now we're in the post 14th and 15th regenerative glow. This page is just some random thoughts, exactly like a hangover on a Sunday morning, eating cold takeaway and wondering about last night. Oh dear. He goes on again a bit more. So this is the next one. His thought number 2: my random scrolling through the Whoniverse allows me to find corners of Doctor Who I haven't watched in a very long while. And one day I found myself watching The Hand of Fear, which contains a very interesting piece of dialogue I'd never noticed before. I always think of the Time Lords in their classic definition given by the second Doctor in the War Games. They don't interfere in the affairs of other planets, a strict policy of non-intervention. It was always said, but look, hold on, what's this? The Hand of Fear, Part 3. Eldrad, who changes from female to male without the blink of an eye, oh, those were the days, says that the Doctor as a Time Lord is pledged to prevent alien aggression. And the Doctor nods and responds with, only when such aggression is deemed to threaten the indigenous population. Really, questions Russell. but that's a completely different mythology, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating the way the Fourth Doctor says it. He's a bit vague. He's a bit grumpy, like he's remembering some old note. Okay, so bear with me now, says Russell. It's almost as though he's remembering some old, half-forgotten warrior Gallifrey that would have had a certain fugitive Doctor going into battle. Where does he get this from? Where?
Well, you remember that line from the TV movie about human beings finding elements that are not there? I'm paraphrasing. Fans do that all the time. But he shouldn't have to do it. He's the showrunner. He should have used imagination outside it and think about new things, you know?
He's trying to retrofit his worldview into Classic Who, and he's not doing a very good job of it. If he really understood what Hand of Fear was about and Eldrad and how he went from a female form to his normal form, he would have understood that and not made that comment, unless he's trying to convince younger kids that will never watch it that's how it always used to be, kids, so it's all right.
But the interesting point is the fact that it went without notice. If it was done now like that, without notice, it'd be far more interesting. It's because it's labelled or signposted all the time. They did it more subtly then, you know, if that's what they're trying to achieve. But in the story, it says that Eldrad, as the hand imagined itself on Sarah and developed from there.
It collected her DNA.
Yeah, he was always a man, because in the first episode, he's talked to in the first episode, and he's obviously a man, and then he becomes the hand, and then becomes a woman, then becomes a man again. So he was always a man, but that wasn't what the question was in the first place, to fair, was it?
Well, it's just ridiculous, and it shows to me, as you're saying, Ian, that's his worldview. And he's pushing it on this. I mean, I get quite annoyed about this. This is a Bob Baker and Dave Martin classic that a lot of us hold dear to our hearts for several reasons. The biggest one being it's Elizabeth Sladen's last story, or as a regular in Doctor Who. And we were there and we grew up with it. And this has never, ever, ever hung around these episodes before. And guess what's going to happen to them now? And it really annoys me, because I don't believe... as a friend of mine said to me about all of this sort of stuff, you know, why is he doing this? He shouldn't be using dead writers' talented scripts to justify his own politics. And these are good writers. These are brilliant writers. These are incredible writers with more skill than he has, to be quite honest. They understood the show. And here he is coming along and sharing his thoughts and his opinion on this. And it does worry me that he's put that there, because, of course, we're now going to get all these people who are still left buying Doctor Who magazine at the price it is, who are impressionable already. And some of them are very, very confused anyway. Some of them have commented on our shows. Very welcome. Nice to see you. But we're going to go off with this now and ruin that whole element of the story. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with Eldrad grabbing Sarah's DNA and copying her.
What he seems to be doing is, and it's almost a reflection of what Chibnall did. If you go back to Chibnall using the Timeless Children thing about Brain and Morbius and going back into that and making that part of the story, and that was previous Doctors, blah, blah, blah. He seemed to be doing the same thing as Chibnall did and trying to just mess up previous mythology as much as he can, which is it's just really just crapping on the series completely, isn't it?
He seems to be rewriting, and this is what worries me about this, and this is why I wanted to bring it to people today on headlines. This whole bi-generation or bi-regeneration or whatever it's called, all that nonsense, because it is nonsense. He's now going back and rewriting or review and suggesting certain things, just like they did with the Morbius thing. And this is not a whole trans issue with Eldrad. That's not the point at all. This is actually based in the sort of science. It was a regeneration based on the DNA. And of course, what happens is it's very simple. There's no agenda in the Hand of Fear. There is no message. It's just a story based around the involving characters, i.e. the Doctor and Sarah. It's basically their story, isn't it, there? And the ring collects Sarah's DNA prior to the hand regenerating in the reactor. There's the story. And one thing I would really, really say is I don't think Bob and Dave would appreciate this at all. And I think they'd actually tell him, you're talking nonsense. That's nowhere in the story. You know, I really do believe that they would turn around and go, what? No, that's not what it's about. Not what it's about. What do you guys think in the chat? Woodhouse122 is saying, looked at Doctor Who magazine in the local WH Smiths. It's a very lightweight issue. Well, yeah. Meddling Funk saying, I flipped through Doctor Who magazine in Morrison's this afternoon, but as usual, there's nothing in it that made me want to buy it. Exactly. Steph's here. Hiya, Steph. I've been wondering if RTD's activism has become so extensive because it's filling a void in his personal life since he lost his partner and he doesn't have his loved one to advise and rein him in. It's an interesting point, but I think he's actually got a new relationship going there. So maybe not. I think it's more, Steph, the fact that he's really, really involved in this whole TQI messaging that is going on. And everybody around him is so involved in that, whether they're following him or whether they really, really believe it. The whole Manchester scene as well is full of this, and he's based there and very involved in it. But it's infected show business, as we know, and we've talked about before, this whole thing. But to actually write something like that and put it in there again, it's just tiring, isn't it?
It is. It's as we're coming up to a Tom Baker season. It could be useful to use his terminology. It's Russell T Davis writes whip it shit. He writes whip it shit, and that's all it is. That's all it's good for. I mean, in Hand of Fear, Sarah comments about why is Eldrad male now, and the Doctor explains he says what's happened. He explains why it's happened. So end of, that's canon. That's what happened. The Doctor says it happened. And yet he's twisting that, so it's some kind of like Jodie post Jodie.
The difference between Bob Baker, Dave Martin's script and one of his is they actually explain something.
Yeah.
If you look at, I mean, we still not have a resolution of why the 14th Doctor became the 14th Doctor. Why did his clothes regenerate? All that kind of stuff. We got none of that. But at least they explain in their story what's happening, and that's the important thing about storytelling as well.
Yeah. And it's like I said before as well, with somebody like Bob and Dave and the writers there that were so talented, you don't need an after show to tell you what the story was about, which they seem to rely on. They seem to think that all the Doctor Who fans are going to go from the broadcast episode to the making of show, so they can tell them, well, this happens because this is there and that's there and that's there. So it makes the stories just tell the bloody story. And this is why I think he's absolutely, I think literally losing the plot. So if we look at that bit again, you can actually go, you can look at this in two ways, as Ian was actually saying there as well. Eldrad, who changes from female to male without the blink of an eye, those were the days. So you can actually say, one, he's getting at fans for criticizing the fact that the Doctor went from male to female, or secondly, that now we've got the trans issue as well, where male to female, female to male is happening, and which we all know that they're very big supporters of doing that. But there's a time and a place, and I don't believe it's in Doctor Who, and I don't think it's in a Doctor Who magazine, which is quite a lot of money, because it's leading Doctor Who magazine astray. People won't buy Doctor Who magazine with this. That's one of the reasons I stopped, because they started using the Q word left, right, and centre. And it just wasn't interesting, as Madeline Funk said. It just wasn't. It's not interesting enough to buy enough and spend your hard-earned cash on it. You know what I mean?
I think what becomes, we've mentioned this before, his interpretation of stuff becomes very much like fan fiction, and that's what fans always speculate how things might go and what could happen between one adventure and the other. Look at Big Finish, but it's kind of it doesn't have to be done within the series. I think I've said this before. I think part of the problem is having a fan running the show is probably part of the problem. I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point.
Mm.
I think that is really nail on the head. You look at people like Hinchcliffe, who weren't fans, and that is undeniably one of the greatest eras of the show ever. Some of the best stories ever. Yeah, they were derivative, but they were done really, really well, weren't they?
Yeah.
And it could have gone on for longer, but the BBC screwed it up, didn't they?
Well, I just don't understand why this all has to come in continually, because it's been there now and it failed. They know it failed, but now they're doubling down with it all to say, well, we're going to carry on with this, and you're going to at least we have the choice to either switch off or not buy the magazine or not buy the merchandise associated with it. Yeah, because it's too much. It's all the time. And when people come back saying, "Oh, Doctor Who was always political," not to this blooming extent. You didn't pick up Doctor Who Weekly or Doctor Who Monthly and have agendas thrown at you from the people on the production team or in the cast, because the politics was never there. So that's getting a little bit tiring now as well.
Doctor Who had politics every now and again, but it was always with a small p. Whereas this is now not just with a capital P; it's with full capital letters. End of. It's just forced. It's propaganda. That's another P.
Yeah. Well, it is. Gary's saying to us here, the axons and zygons can replicate male or female humans using the body prints of the original. Same idea, basically. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. So is he going to go through all the stories, pushing that viewpoint onto it to say, oh, the zygons are this now and representing this? Or because it's interesting in his wording there that there's two elements that, he's sort of alluding to. It's the reality and the fiction. And it's just, do you know what I mean?
If he'd written Hand of Fear when Sarah commented that he was now male again, Eldrad would have put on a Sheffield naff accent and gone, "I've had a downgrade." That's how he would have written it.
Yeah. That would never happen with it. I mean, if you've got Doctor Who magazine, have a look at the production notes yourself on that one. But if you haven't, I'm certainly not one of those that have. I mean,
going back to one issue, JT, I think was the one that came out before was the specials came on about him constantly saying there's going to be a seismic shift of Doctor Who. Be ready for it. And he's been trying to set us up for a while that things are going to come and going to change. Yeah, he's obviously trying to make us get annoyed about it, obviously, but he's trying to prepare us for it as well, because I think we're all expecting it to be really awful. And I think that's going to be the case.
Well, this ties in with what Garbage is saying there. Garbage is saying, I bet the next upcoming episodes will be focusing on the cast and not the story in the upcoming press releases. And it's this what is so goddamn boring about current day entertainment. Yeah, I know where you're coming from that, because it's always about the show. It's all about them, isn't it? It's all about, oh, look at us, and we've made this series, and isn't it brilliant? And then when it doesn't do well in the overnights or whatever, don't worry about that too much. We can maybe do something with that, and again, back to our rating show earlier in the week. Surely we're all getting a bit tired of this now. Surely we are.
Well, like Ian was saying, at least J&T used to do stuff to fire the imagination, like the TARDIS is going to change just for headlines. That's all it was, The Doctor might be a woman. It's a joke, but we're going to do it anyway. That kind of thing to generate an interest.
Yeah, 40 years later.
Yeah, not actually doing it. You know what I mean? It was just to inspire an interest. Yeah.
If he was alive now, he'd be saying, "I didn't mean it, you fucking idiot."
Yes.
Yeah. Gary's pointing out here, until they run out of firsts. How many firsts can you actually have? You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
What's left to have? Well, there's a couple of things, isn't there? Although, it does worry me where we're going to go with this next year. He does round off. I'll just point out as well that he does round off his production notes with more what I would call waffle. He talks about how something went out on social media on the day of Wild Blue Yonder that shouldn't have done, but because everybody was asleep in the morning, nobody saw it anyway. So they were quite happy about that. And then he rounds off with the paragraph. So yes, there you go. Random thoughts and bizarre. And a blizzard of memories, from a very mad time, something we'll probably never have again. A double launch of 2 Doctors incorporating Christmas itself, marshalled so brilliantly by the BBC publicity and photography teams. How do you think it went? Very well.
Delusional.
Something went out on social media that they shouldn't have done, but they didn't take any effort to just delete it. Instead, they waited and talked about it instead.
Well, no, they did. I'll tell you what this is about. On the morning of December the 2nd, Wild Blue Yonder Day, yes, we kept that episode secret, not because it contained any secrets as such, but because the plot was actually so simple. The Doctor and Donna meet evil doubles. Do they defeat them? Yes. Do you see? There's not really anywhere else to go on that one. But anyway, the strategy had worked, and all was calm and peaceful until 7:40 a.m. on that Saturday, 11 hours before the transmission, when a BBC Facebook page accidentally posted behind-the-scenes footage from Unleash with David Tennant hooting as he tried on giant prosthetic arms. Scream, panic, spoilers. It was taken down within 15 minutes. Turns out turns out they got the time wrong, basically, and they've now realised that they've got to say things like, instead of 740, 1940, and all this sort of stuff. Right. So obviously they've got some sort of young person not reading anything properly on the social media.
Oh, they can't a clock.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't surprise me if these things are happening, but it's
no.
Oh, let's have a look what we got here. Kirsty, hi, Kirst. Marvel were chomping at the bit this week with the first deaf, amputee, and disabled actor. Really? A disabled woman. Well, really? I hadn't heard about that one, but I suppose that's ticking lots of boxes for them, isn't it? Really, on that one. What else we got? They're talking about something else. What is this Marvel thing they're talking about in there?
I'm a Marvel fan myself. I don't know what they're talking about.
No, it's all. Well, anyway, so that was that.
It's for the kids, really. It's for the kids.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, though, coming from Doctor Who magazine, the latest issue of Doctor Who magazine in the production notes. It's available now if you want to go and spend your money on that one. Just to let you know as well that the following issue is a big issue. It's the 600th issue, so the price goes up again. I think it's around about $10.99. I think Woodhouse 122 actually.
And what will it be celebrating? The past year? Will that be it?
It's going to be a very short issue then, isn't it? Here we go. Standard price here. Woodhouse 223. Next issue is special edition 600. So it's going to be $10.99. Thank you, Woodhouse 122. $10.99. I remember it. It was bloody 12 pence, for crying out loud. It's outrageous.
Well, the first monthly was 30p, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Do you remember with the green cover and?
Yeah.
I'm still in shock about the 60th Radio Times that came out for the 60th, and that was like £5.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Ridiculous, yeah.
So anyway, from that, and more from the stable of RTD, have you heard, everybody, that Ncuti Gatwa's doctor can save lives? Oh, yes, he can.
Is he now a medical doctor as well, is he?
You give them a cue and they don't take it up.
I whispered it just in case it was wrong.
Panto season never ends on this channel, I can assure you. In fact, welcome to Who's Views. This is Headlines. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. We've got lots of fantastic content for you, all on our playlists, and more to come, because as Ian mentioned there, we are about to start celebrating the 90th birthday of our very own Tom Baker, and we're all really excited about that, and we hope that you're going to join us for 4 very special programs for the legend himself, all starting very, very soon on this very channel. Oh, I'm so excited. But anyway, yes, Ncuti Gatwa, according to this, can save lives. So what do you think about this, everybody? This is from the National Post. Study links Doctor Who Christmas episodes with lower death rates in the UK. The study's sci-fi themed tongue-in-cheek title, televised festive broadcast in association with rates of death in 60 years of Doctor Who or TARDIS, whatever that means. It's by Chris Knight for the National Post. The immediate reaction for me on that headline was, really?
Well, I was near to death watching it, I have to say.
It's incredible now what people are getting at to, but we have to mention that it's funny. Let's carry on with this then. So yes, we had that headline, and on the back of this comes, curious to see if the fictional doctor had any real world effects on health. Richard Riley, our biostatistician, thank you, at the University of Birmingham. Yes, here are we. He looked at annual mortality rates in the nation as compared against years preceded by a holiday season episode. Now, in the UK, we would call that a Christmas or a festive season episode, by the way. He discovered a slight but measurable correlation. In years following those with a Doctor Who seasonal episode, the UK experienced 0.4 fewer deaths per 1,000 person years compared to those without such an episode. The difference was even more notable in the years since 2005, following a 16-year gap in production, with a mean 0.62 fewer deaths per 1,000 person years in years following a Christmas Day episode, which is to say all of them since then.
Can I interrupt you just for a second?
Yes,
does that mean when Jodie was around, they had New Year's Day specials, then more people died during her era than previously?
It's very possible. Certainly the fandom seemed to die in that.
More people survived on New Year's Day then when she was around.
The article goes on. Riley, who is, of course, a self-professed fan of Doctor Who. Welcome. I hope you're watching this, you little tinker. And of healthcare, describes a personal connection to his study. The lead researcher experienced the benefit of such healthcare around Christmas 2020 when his son was admitted to hospital with a burst appendix and sepsis, he writes. The fantastic surgery and care received saved his life, and thankfully he was discharged in time to watch that year's festive episode of Doctor Who. Riley signalled the tongue-in-cheek nature of his work with its titled Televised Festive Broadcast in Association with Rates of Death in 60 Years of Doctor Who, or TARDIS, which the show stands for Time and Relative Dimension of Space. It says also, similarly, Riley's paper is grander on the inside, and the researcher has been at pains to explain that he doesn't really think Doctor Who has had any appreciable effect on the length of Britain's lives. Seriously, why would you go to so much effort?
I have to say, it makes the unfolding text sound more interesting. The unfolding text.
I just think Catherine takes Nan, just saying what load of shit.
It really, I just thought this was funny, actually. It's just bizarre. Kirsty's saying, sorry, what exactly? To be honest, this just seems like news outlets trying to find something to post as we wait until May. Yes, it's Doctor Who, says Gary Bryant, not Dr. Kildare. And Ecstatic Brick is saying Chris Chibnall created one of the most depressing shows ever made. Who watched that and said we need him for Doctor Who, even after his historic Doctor Who Appreciation Society stupid comment? I said much the same thing when I heard he was cast in the showrunner role, but that's another story, isn't it? But this is just this. It just got me because I just thought this is ridiculous. It's absolutely study links Doctor Who Christmas episodes with lower death rates. Well, could it be for much longer? Who knows?
Well, it's probably going to kill a few older fans like myself, you know, with all the changes they keep making. I'll be dead by May probably anyway. But
no, please don't.
Woodhouse122 said he almost died of boredom after the last Christmas special. It is very odd, and it just shows you, though, that some of the stuff, and I can't work out whether or not they're actually slagging the show off or trying to support it, quite frankly.
I think it's just about tongue-in-cheek nonsense, isn't it? That's all it is, isn't it?
It's tenuous, definitely.
Yeah, tenuous. Yeah.
Kirsty is saying here. Sorry, Ian?
And bullshit.
Kirsty is saying someone online was talking about Orphan 55 the other day, and I wanted to zap it out my brain again. Oh, you see,
Benny.
I think somebody on Whose Views needs to write a paper about that paper and actually showing. Actually, no, it's having a different effect. We're all going completely insane, quite frankly. What do you think of that one?
Yeah.
Well, we're Doctor Who fans. We're all insane, aren't we?
You speak for yourself.
I am.
Oh, listen.
The statistics.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was a little bit funny there for that particular one. So, yeah, we're coming to the end of headlines now. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody that's tuned in for our headlines, this new series on Whose Views with myself, Paul, and with Third Doctor Ian. Thank you all for your comments. It's been very lively and we appreciate it all. Thank you very much for the emails that have been sent in as well about this show. I'm glad you're enjoying it. We've got a lot to talk about. Oh, and look who's just joined us as we're about to head off. It's Timescales. Good morning from San Francisco. Good morning to you. I hope you have a lovely day down there. And Kirsty's asking you, Paul, Fringe, recreating Chibnall's time. There's a show there. There absolutely is, isn't there?
I'll be in touch, Kirsty. You can be Jodie, okay? Right. I'll be Bradley Walsh, okay?
Bradley Walsh. He'll want to play himself. I'm sorry, but he will. Yeah. So listen, yes. So thanks very much for joining us. If you haven't liked the video, please do like the video, the film. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. As I say, coming up next on this very channel, unless they give us something else to do with the headline tomorrow, we will be back very soon with the start of our Tom Baker season. So come and join us as we celebrate the man, the myth, the legend that is Tom Baker and his 90th birthday. We're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of love for that man because we all love him. Come on, let's face it. So don't forget, subscribe and come and join us for that. And Headlines will be back very soon as well. So from us here on Headlines at Whose Views, we're going to be seeing you for the Tom Baker specials. Keep an eye out. They'll start all appearing on the YouTube show now. So make sure you like them and ring that bell so you get notifications of when we're going live for them. From Paul, from Third Doctor Ian and myself, have a fabulous weekend. And we will be seeing you with more headlines as soon as they arrive. Won't we, guys?
We will indeed.
Yeah.
Until then, everybody, have a fabulous weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.